message, and we can't fail to recognize the presence of the Honorable Dr. Jean Augustine, who is also in our presence. So once again, we will be proceeding and about to go into the raising of flag. Just as you heard, life began in Africa. We don't have debate about that. And so I always remind people, if you don't know where you're coming from, you don't know where you're going to. So it doesn't matter what you think about Africa. If you've never traveled down there, please go. You'll be shocked and surprised. It's not so much about what you see in the media, but the continent of Africa, it's wonderful. It's a beautiful place, beautiful people, and well developed. If you don't understand, technology is booming more. We are actually leading in technology than the rest of the world, you know. And so it's a place that it's doing a great things. And so I want to call at this time the representative from the African Union Commission to come and share the message from the chairperson of the African Union Commission, His Excellency Mr. Musa Faki Mahamat, who sent the delegates all the way from the African Union to come and join us in this celebration for this number of days. And so please help me welcome Mr. Nana Ose.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming. I would like to recognize the Honorable Dr. Jean Augustine for being here, the Honorable Consul General from Ghana, and all the distinguished ladies and gentlemen who are here. I have the distinct privilege to be here today because it's basically a combination of different things coming together at this moment. I'm Canadian myself. I left 3 years ago to join the African Union and to support the work that they are doing to engage the diaspora. The Africa Day, I think, is a day that we all are called upon to take a moment to reflect, where we have been as a continent and where we are going. If you look at the African Union, we have a vision for the continent to make the Africa that we want, not the Africa that other people want to impose upon us. What is the Africa that we want? So it's an opportunity for us to look at where we have been. It's easy to forget that just half a century ago, we were still getting just out of the shackles of colonialism and all of these things. So it's easy to sometimes get lost in some of the narratives that get written. But I think over the last half century, we've accomplished quite a lot. As Macaulay has said, you need to come to Africa to observe the continent for yourselves. It is not the Africa of the narrative that you see on TV. It's an Africa that is on the move, an Africa that is active, an Africa that is driven by the force of its own people and its own youth. So it is a particular honor for me to be here to take part in this flag raising ceremony on behalf of the African Union. And with those words said, I will now proceed to read the message from His Excellency, the Chairperson of the African Union Commission. So the message is entitled, Strengthening the Relationship Between the African Union and the African Diaspora in Canada. Migration has long been an integral feature of the African experience. The allure of economic opportunities in more developed countries, combined with the occasional political, humanitarian, or security push factors, means that the African diaspora is large and growing. The effects of migration, notably brain drain and its debilitating impact on the continent's developmental agenda, are far-reaching and well-documented. It is equally true, however, that migration, when leveraged effectively to promote investments, knowledge building, and skill transfers, can power accelerated economic growth on the African continent. Diaspora engagement, therefore, is a strategic priority for the African Union. Indeed, the Constitutive Act of the AU declares that it shall invite and encourage the full participation of the African diaspora as an important part of our continent in the building of the African Union. At the continental level, this commitment is apparent in the work of the African Union Commission's Directorate of Citizens and Diaspora Organizations, CEDAW, which is mandated to build the capacity of AU member states to develop strategies to harness the enormous talent and treasure of the African diaspora in support of the socio-economic agenda of the continent. Case studies of successful diaspora engagement, such as in China and India, provide a template for African governments, many of whom have now established separate ministries, departments, and agencies of government with the specific mandates of engaging the African diaspora. Indeed, countries such as Rwanda, Ghana, and Ethiopia have earned praise for the depth of their engagement and their readiness to put in place policy frameworks that encourage and facilitate diaspora participation. In addition, many African diplomatic missions now operate dedicated diaspora desks as a means of creating a more direct link with their respective diaspora communities. This work, however, is neither simple nor devoid of risk. Progress is sometimes held up by a lack of trust between diaspora groups and governments back in the home countries. To foster a more effective collaboration between AU member states and the African diaspora, the African Union held the first Global African Diaspora Summit in Johannesburg in South Africa on Africa Day 2012. Representatives of diaspora groups from all over the world worked in concert with the AU Commission and AU member states to produce a continental roadmap for diaspora engagement. While a lot more remains to be done, the AU Commission has made significant progress in strengthening the relationship with the diaspora community and creating viable partnerships to support the continent's development. Diaspora networks such as the AU6RC here in Canada, as well as others, are now in place to guide and coordinate diaspora-led development initiatives in the Caribbean, in the Americas, and other places around the world. I am pleased to report that today, on Africa Day 2018, the African Union will officially inaugurate the African Union, the sixth region, Canada, AU6RC, to institutionalize the AU's relationship with the African diaspora community here in Canada, and to establish a platform to increase the impact of development initiatives led by Canada-based diaspora organizations in Africa. This formal relationship will also serve to enhance the participation of the African diaspora community in Canada in the affairs of the African Union. The strong relationships that the AU continues to maintain with the African diaspora community around the world, including here in Canada, provide an excellent platform to build on as the AU Commission continues to work hand in hand with the African diaspora to give practical meaning to the AU Diaspora Initiative. Thank you.
So just as you've heard, this occasion is very important. As you heard, the African Union establishing that strong tie between the African Union 6th region here in making sure that all the African diaspora community in Canada are well recognized and working together to achieve a common goal as expected by the African Union. You were supposed to clap for that one more time. That's not something, it's a long way coming to have that kind of level of recognition as long expected. So at this time we're going to be doing the flag raising, and so we will call the honors of Dr. Kane and Nana Osei to do us the honors as they came all the way from Addis Ababa to help us raise the flag today. And so we want to play the national anthem of the African Union, and that will be followed after the flag is raised up with the Canadian anthem, which will be done by Aiden Church. I believe he's here. He will be doing that after the flag is raised. Thank you very much.
Celebrate together. Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all our sons' command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true North, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you so very much. Please keep standing. I need the camera people to do this for us. We would love everybody to point your hand towards the flag, and I want the camera people to capture that as everybody points their hand towards the flag. Some from the back, some from the front, and we want to capture that from different angles. And we are pointing to the flag that is about to help the rest of the world get to the next level. So I want everybody pointing to the flag. I want us to capture that. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you. So at this time, because of this beautiful weather, which is not too friendly to everybody, but it's wonderful that it's a beautiful day and that we have the flag flying high. This time we will encourage everybody that we will be going inside for the reception. And please, if you've not registered, we will encourage you to go through the security to get your tag names as we go in. And for those of you who have already registered, I think we'll be going from
everyone
from the west side. So we'll be going through the west side towards the reception. I think it's room
228, 230.
280, 230.
Yeah, 228.
228 and 230. Okay, so we'll be going towards the west end of the building, and we will go inside for the reception. Thank you all very much. I'm gonna go this one. Thank you.
Okay.
have I done myself as immigrant to this country for those people who are coming? The solution comes upon us, not only to the government of Canada, but I feel we are also part of it. We should think about it, what can be done. This is what I wanted to say, and then we'll be. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thank you for your presentation. Now, we're going to call the president of, no, the Consul General of Jamaica. Is he here or maybe his representative? Is it here? No. So it seems like it's not here yet. We're going to introduce our Honorable Dr. Jean Augustine. It's our mother here in Toronto. Thank you for welcoming her. Thank you.
Bonjour and good morning. It is a glorious and wonderful day for a celebration. And so I want to begin by greeting the representative of government and the representative of the AU who are here with us, and to say how pleased we are, and to also say that as Torontonians we prepared the day appropriately. I hope you like the temperature outdoors and the warmth of the sun. I also want to commend my brother Macaulay Canoe and all those who are involved and engaged in the formation and in the struggle to get this organization really moving along, getting all the support that we need to have in order to ensure that we are really part of this sixth region, not only in terms of those of us who care about this, but in terms of the numbers. It's important that we have a critical mass of communities, of individuals, of groups, and those who care about Africa. I was very pleased this morning to hear the remarks of the Consul General and also the remarks of the representative of the AU about the situation in Africa, because as we look at the world and we look at countries around the world and you take any kind of statistics and you look at it in terms of growing economies, population, young population, communication and other media and whatnot, we know that the continent of Africa is ready. In a number of instances, we know that they've jumped over several kind of technologies. They didn't have to go from the this to the that to the that to there. And that as they move along, they're taking advantage of where we are in present technologies and ready to move the world. We also know, and I'm speaking as someone who's been to Africa, and I've been to about 35 countries in Africa, some of them 8 and 9 times. I was with Mr. Chrétien when we visited the AU in Addis, yes, spent time in Addis Ababa, and having seen the enthusiasm of the Africans and listening to the discussions that were taking place, I think we are at a point now where we can say that we're ready to move forward as a continent with some force and to find our place in the world. And as we see the US giving up a lot of what was its number one country in the world, its position, and involving itself in so many things that are really detriment to us, to all people. And the name calling that occurred as the president referred to countries in Africa, we know that we need and we must come together in order to move forward. I want to encourage all of you to be part of this vision, because as you look at this pamphlet that I'm sure every one of us will get, the African Union and the diaspora, you'll see that one of the things that's written in the vision is that Africa is calling its people from every place where they have been scattered throughout this hemisphere This is our time, this is our season. And so we need to take this call really, really very seriously.
Yes.
When I was a minister with some responsibility and called for chairs of in the various universities that focus on different things, there was no one coming forward saying that I am, or here is a chair at this university in African studies, chair in Jewish studies, chair in Islamic studies. The Korean were the last people to join us. There is already a chair. There are millions of dollars to buy property for great big recreational and other kind of facilities. And we, as African people, we seem to put ourselves into little baskets. I am Caribbean, you are Canadian, you are African, and I think we're at the point in time where we have to see ourselves as a people, because when one discriminates, one does not stop to say, are you from Ghana or are you from Grenada? Right? What they see really is our heritage, our root, our skin color. And so it's important for us to recognize that we have to work together, we have to come together, we have to push on together, and we have to support each other. And that we cannot get into the game of, I am not from, and therefore I do not. One of the things that I've learned over the many years, I came here in 1960, and have been around for the last 58 years or so, I have never separated myself in the Caribbean basket or in the Grenada basket. Sometimes there are people who say, I thought you were Jamaican. And so why did you think so? Or I thought you were whatever. We have to be able, as black people, to move in all of the circles and to move with everyone and to see Africa as our homeland and the roots of our culture, and that we need to be supportive. We need to have that data bank of the skills and talents that we've all assembled so that we can share that when there is something happening in the African country, that we can go down to the database and say, look, we have so-and-so who can do this or that. When there are opportunities, and I see the mining people are here constantly from South Africa and other places talking about opportunities in mining and jobs that are available, etc. We should be in the front line of some of those activities. So when we step back, when we stand back, when we don't involve ourselves, when we leave it to others, when we begin to put ourselves in these little pockets here and there, then we are not doing what is important for us to do, to move together as an African people. And I think this is a message we have to give. Our young people are ready for this. I see the young people, and if you look in the room now, you can see how many young women especially are here. The young people are ready. Those who are having children in this country are ready to ensure that their children have the roots. Yes. And so what I did when I left Parliament, I had boxes of speeches and videos and gifts and whatever that had been part of my 14 years in the Parliament of Canada. And because we had no chair, we had nothing that speak to the diaspora issues, I negotiated with York University. My things are all at York University, where the students can go in and see and touch and feel and experience. But the chair, my friends, is $3 million. And this is maybe why we don't have a chair in any of the universities in Canada, because the university does not give the chair, the community has to give the chair, or the individuals have to give the chair. So once I negotiated giving them all those boxes, they threw $1 million on the table. And I said, hold on to the $1 million, and I will help to raise $2 million so we can have a chair in community, education, diaspora issues. So it's for all of us, not for me. The reason it has my name on it is because it's connected to all the archival things I've given and to the $1 million, which one of my daughters said, take the $1 million, Mom, and run. That's my investment in it. So the call is to get the community out there to get behind this so that we can do the research, so we can do the data collection, so that we in Canada can work with the universities in Africa, that we can give scholarships to students, we can do teacher exchanges, we can do a whole lot of things if we have that chair fully endowed. So if there is anybody in the room right now who can write a check for $1 million, would you please show your hand? The point I'm making is that we have to work together, and we have to do things together, and we have to see the importance of standing for, standing with, and being sons and daughters of Africa. I've heard the song before, but this morning, maybe because the speaker was good and clear, the words of the song are really effective. Right? We all should get a copy of that and play it for our children and for our grandchildren, and make sure some of the schools and other places have a copy of this. So send us the link and we'll do some stuff with it. The words are powerful because it's calling on all of us, no matter where we are in the world, to come together as people of African descent, to come together as people who care about Africa, and come together because there is a purpose, and that purpose is to unite us all for the betterment of the continent that gave us the start. Not only us, gave the world and the world's people the start. And so it's important, and we were at a critical stage in the history of the world, in the discussion around cultures, in the discussion around immigration and immigration issues. It is so important for us to recognize who we are, strong Black people, descendants of strong Black African people. So I'm so very pleased to be part of today, to support all those who are moving forward, because it's so important for us to move forward together. Merci beaucoup, mes amis.
Wow, what a wonderful speech. Oh my God, I was so touched. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you all of us together again. Thank you. That was so powerful. Wow. Merci beaucoup. C'était une très merveilleuse présentation. Et sur ce, je vais appeler Félicia Joly, qui va nous faire une chanson. Et mesdames, messieurs, recevez Félicia Joly. I'm going to introduce Félicia Joly. She will sing a song for us today. So welcome, Miss Félicia Joly.
Good afternoon, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here and an honor. I am setting up this song, and while I'm doing so, I just want to take the opportunity to say that we have the opportunity to see unity in our lifetime. We have the opportunity to make a difference in our lifetime. Just by virtue of being here, we have the opportunity to come together, share ideas, and with an idea, once you have shared it, to whom you have shared it, that person is forever changed. Once an idea has left your mouth, the entire world has changed. The resonance of the words we speak change everything. It is up to us to recognize the opportunity to make ourselves available, to share ideas, make ourselves available to each other so that we can be heard by each other and be moved together. I'm hoping that I can figure out the technical. You gave me my hand. reach out to men to show him your love and your perfect plan. You gave me my ears, I can hear your voice so clear. I can hear the cries of sinners. Can I wipe away their tears? Oh, can I wipe their tears? You gave me my voice to speak your word, to sing all your praises to those who never heard. But with my eyes I see the need for more availability. I see hearts that have been broken, so many people to be free. Lord, I'm available to you. My will I give to you. I'll do what you say do. Use me, Lord, to show someone the way and enable me to say, my storage is empty and I am available to you. Now I'm giving back to you all the tools you gave to me. My hands, my ears, my voice, my eyes. Just use them as you please. I've emptied out my cup so that you can fill me up. Now I'm free. I just want to be more available to you. Oh, Lord, I'm available to you. I'm available. My will I give to you. I'll do what you say do. So just use me, Lord.
didn't know you were singing that great. I was touched. Thank you. Can we put our hands together for Felicia once again? Excellent. Thank you. I say amen to that. I am available to God. I am available. Wow. Thank you. Our next guest is Mr. David Sina, President of Sierra Leone Community. Is Mr. David Sina here? Notre prochain invité, c'est M. David Sina, président de la communauté de Sierra Leone à Toronto. Bienvenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Great song. Thanks a lot. I love it.
Yes.
Good afternoon, delegates and ladies and gentlemen. Today is a great day for Africa, especially we in Canada, because it's a day that, as we heard the message from the delegates, that they are now ready to engage with the diaspora, especially the African diaspora. And we are happy for this because long overdue that we've been waiting to work with the African Union to participate in the development of Africa. I know it's a great challenge, and I will first of all say thanks to Mr. Kapu, the chairman. He has been trying very hard to bring the African community together, particularly in this trying time. But your effort won't go in vain. We are ready to support you and to participate in any initiative that you bring on board. And for the African continent and the African Union, I'm still happy. And your presence here has been a very great honor for us, because I think this is the first time of the delegates to come here, particularly for this special day on the flag raising day. So we are really thankful that you are here to be with us for the flag raising day, and we hope that today is not going to be the last day to celebrate it all or to come for the flag raising, but we are hoping to see you every year to be with us. So again, I say thanks to everyone, and and on behalf of the Sierra Leone community, we say happy African Day.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sina David. It was great. So now we want to have a little bit of break with a beautiful song from Aden Church. Song by Aden Church. Is it here? No? Okay. So we're not going to have the song then. So now our next guest is Mr. Gideon Exeter, President of Council of Caribbean Association of Canada. Notre prochain invité, c'est Monsieur Gideon Exeter, Président du Conseil caribéen au Canada. Is Mr. Gideon in the room? Or your representative? Thank you. It's here. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. Thanks to the Africa Union 6th region for inviting us to be here with you. I congratulate you on the 55th anniversary of the founding of the Africa Union, and also on the launch of the Canadian diaspora unit of it. I represent an organization called the Council of Caribbean Associations Canada, and we're speaking about unity. It is an organization that has representations from 14 different Caribbean countries: Antigua and Barbuda, Bahamas, Barbados, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, Haiti, Jamaica, Montserrat, St. Kitts Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and Grenadines, and Trinidad and Tobago. We applaud the efforts of your organization, and I'm hopeful that we from the Caribbean could work closer and more closely with you so that we could integrate into one people of African descent and do more things together. As several speakers said earlier, when we are approached by people from other communities, from the time they see our skin color, they don't ask, where are you from? They label you in their way. Sometimes they label you as Africans or Jamaicans or something. We need to know where we are going. We need to know where we've come from. And in order to know where we're going, we need to come together and define a purpose.
Yes.
So, my invitation to the group that organized this event, the sixth, the African Union Sixth Division, is for us to work together. I will invite you to some of the events that the various communities that I mentioned are having, so that we could get to know each other more and share in getting our people to where we want them. That is one African diaspora representing people of African descent. Thank you all very much, and I look forward to meeting more of you as the evening goes on.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gideon. Now, we're going to call a choir from the Seventh-day Adventist Academy to sing a song for us before our next guest. Can we have the choir of the Seventh-day Academy? Oh, they are young. They are talented. So, put your hands together and welcome Seventh-day Adventist Academy.
We're from Crawford Adventist Academy, and these are just the select students in the grade 9 class. We'll be singing 2 songs for you today. One is entitled Tia Bahamba, and it says basically, you know I love my Lord Jesus who first loved me. And the second song is Better is One Day, and that song is saying better is one day in the presence of God than 1,000 days anywhere else. Please enjoy.
Ezuweni siya bahama yoti.